What we'll spend the time doing now is finishing up the right wrist, and then we want to go back and check our right arm in multiple views just to make sure that everything looks fine at those different angles. So remember, we want to constantly make sure that we're checking out our animation in more than one view. The side view of the arm looks good, but we want to go ahead and check out multiple views to make sure that they look good as well. Let's animate the what we'd see in more of the side view of the wrist right now. Then we'll go back and check other angles of the arm. So with the wrist now selected, we'll go to our perspective and graph editor view, as we've been doing, and start. And we'll start here at the push off. As the character is pushing off, this needs a little bit more work, okay, to make it look more like a push off. And first off, what we need to do is actually have the arm move in a bit closer to the crate on frame 68. So let's do that. We'll just have it translate a little bit more in, like that, and then we'll go ahead and check out our tangency on it to make sure everything's fine. Okay, and it looks good. So once we've done that, if we scrub and even hit play from here, notice the push-off is looking that much better. Now we can work on the wrist, having that not go through the crate as it is, and we will need to do adjustments on the fingers, but we'll get to that later. So with the wrist now selected, let's go to frame 68, and what we need to do is change a few things here. For one, the rotate X, that needs to be adjusted so that the character's hand is a bit more planted on the crate, so let's fix that up. Okay, so we'll turn it, and then we'll go to the rotate Y, and let's bring it back. Okay, like about there. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can check out our keys, and let's take this key on 68 and adjust its tangency some. So now what we get as we scrub through is the character's hand staying on the crate a little bit longer, okay, which is going to give us a better feeling of a push-off. Great. Now once the character is at about this angle here, what we want to do is rotate the hand forward a little bit more on frame 66, just to fix the flow there. Alright, great. And then once the hand comes off, the wrist is going to rotate down some, and we're kind of getting that. So what we can actually do is, if we like this pose on frame 75, at about here when the wrist is coming down, rather than adding a pose, we could just use our insert key tool to insert a key right there. So let's do that. We'll just go to our insert key tool and hit a mouse button click right there on 75. Great. So there's another way of setting a key to maintain our pose that we have. Now we need to work on the follow through as the wrist is going back and then coming forward. So for one, we need to delay this key on frame 78. What we could do is just hit W to go into our translate manipulator so we can move this key, and let's move it down some, a couple of frames, so it lies on frames 80 to delay it there to fix the timing. And then as the wrist is coming up, at about frame 87, we'll go there and rotate the wrist back as the arm's coming forward. The wrist has some weight to it too, so we also want to reflect that when we're doing the follow through in it. Great. So that's looking good. Then as the arm comes up, and then it's starting to come back down on frame 101, let's go ahead and go to the rotate Y and bring up the wrist. Something like that. And just FYI, the wrist should pretty much follow with the lower arm here, so we want to make sure that it's doing that and our pose doesn't look awkward. We're getting some nice motion with it now. And then on frame 103, we'll go there and move it down. Great. And then we want to check out the keys that we've set. Maybe we can take this key on 103 and adjust the tangency. Get a better flow. Awesome. Now the rotate Y is pretty much all we'll really need to worry about as far as animating the follow through to the wrist, because the other motion to it won't really be too noticeable. So with this done, let's go ahead and check out a play blast of our wrist to see how it's looking right now and to see if there's any fixes we can make before we call this section done. Okay, so we can render one off from here. Here it is. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got some nice follow through in our wrist now. What we can do is spend the time just making sure that the right arm is looking good as it's going back. And there may be a few tweaks we need to do to the arms as we get a little bit further on, adding some more movement in the upper body based off of our steps that we'll get to shortly. Okay, so this isn't quite the final of the arm. There may be a few fixes we can add here and there, especially when we come to the end of the project where we look for any final adjustments we can make. But let's go ahead and do a render from at about this back view angle here to make sure everything's flowing right. Here it is. Alright, so the arm's looking pretty good. Great. And one view we can check out is more of a top view as well. Definitely don't want to neglect our top view. So, find a nice top view shot. How about from this angle here? We'll go ahead and render off a play blast from about here, and we can even get in closer. Okay, and render one off. Here it is. Great. Well, with these things done, that finishes the follow through to the wrist, and the rest of our arm is looking good. In the next lesson, what we're going to do is start working on the left arm, and once that's finished, we'll bring our focus more to the fingers.